Well, hello then, I do hope you're all well, and I do hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Now, this is hilarious. We all know about our Secretary of State for Digital Culture, Media and Sports, Nadine Dorries. Does her best, not to find car crash interviews, but her problem is, car crash interviews always seem to find her. Well, in this video, our Mad Nad was at a cross-party select committee meeting, and the topic of scrutiny was about the privatisation of Channel 4. Well, the first person to start was from Scottish journalist, broadcaster and SNP MP for Ochil, is it Ochil? Ochil, I'm sorry if I got it wrong, and South Perthshire. Asked our Mad Nad quite a simple question and cue the car crash, and also, what's the tension between these two? What's going on here?
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, Secretary of State. Can I ask why you refused to go on to Channel 4 News to answer questions on why you want to privatise Channel 4?
That's my right to do so.
Wow. That's the level of mentality you have to deal with now. My right to do so, but I think he's got a valid point for asking that question.
Or is the answer finished? Well, of course it's your right to do so. That goes without saying. But accountability is something that we expect of Cabinet Secretaries. And you'd rather think that the pretty important audience to explain your policy and what you want to do would be the very audience who's going to be most affected by the decision.
Well, I've had a number of media interviews on Channel 4. I think I've explained my position on Channel 4 quite clearly. I'm here to be scrutinised on the decision for Channel 4. Very happy to answer any questions anybody has. But
Okay.
Which media outlet I choose to appear on is my choice.
That, of course, is a truism. Let's examine then some of your justifications for privatising Channel 4. It's profitable, as we know, and you often compare it and say that you want it to compete with Netflix and Amazon. Do you know how much Netflix share price has performed in the last 6 months? Do you know what has happened to Netflix share price?
So I don't actually say that I want it to compete with Netflix and Amazon, because that's not the case.
I think you did.
I'm very aware of what's happened to Netflix share price. I'm also aware that Netflix themselves have discussed various ways of adapting Netflix to its market now that it's reached market saturation. And of course, one of the ways Netflix is looking at doing that is via taking on advertising, which probably leads me to the point as to one of the reasons why I've taken the decision that I have on Channel 4, and that is because Channel 4 is dependent upon one stream of revenue, which is advertising. And as we know, the pool of advertising budget has reduced considerably. Advertisers have the linear graph for advertising is only going in one direction. Advertisers now have far more choice, many more online, streaming and other outlets where they can spend their advertising revenue,
Yes.
and indeed are choosing to do so. And I would imagine that Netflix will be a very popular choice for advertisers to spend their advertising budget.
Secretary of State, I have heard you say that you want Channel 4 to be freed up to compete with Netflix and Amazon. The answer to my question is that Netflix share price has dropped by over 70% in the last 6 months. Now, Amazon's owned by a $1 trillion company. It's a loss leader. Netflix has racked up billions of dollars in debt. How do you think these are appropriate role models for a profitable, well-run UK success story like Channel 4?
I think that's a better of a question. I'm looking forward to hearing this.
Well, I'm not trying to say that either Netflix or Amazon Prime or Disney Plus or any of the many streaming organisations which are coming online, which, by the way, from the days when we had choices of 1, 2, 3, 4, have transformed the broadcasting landscape. I'm not trying to say they're role models. I'm trying to say this is a market.
Now, I don't know about you, but I tend to find when really stupid people try to justify their decisions by using things that happened in the past. Is that true? Because what's having the TV channels in the past got to do with what's happening in the future? Or am I looking at it wrong? I don't know, but I just found it a bit of a bonehead thing to say.
In which various organisations, owners, both public service broadcasters and privately owned broadcasters, are competing for market share.
These are unsuccessful companies by any standards. They're financially unsuccessful. They're heavily subsidised. Now, Amazon and Netflix are also subscription models, and Channel 4 is not. And Channel 4, as you know, is the UK's biggest free streaming service. Now, one of your colleagues, Minister in your department, Julia Lopez, said on the floor of the Commons that in any privatisation, Channel 4 will not move to a subscription model if it's privatised. Do you guarantee that?
As we've made very clear, and both myself and Minister Lopez...
that old tried and trusted line to start off with, as I've made myself very clear line. They always seem to say it a lot, don't they? And usually what they mean by that, I'm just going to waffle nonsense and just tell you absolute drivel.
And you may have read the broadcasting white paper. Channel 4 is a public service broadcaster, and any sale of Channel 4 will require it to continue to be a public service broadcaster.
And that will be written into the sale, will it?
It will be part of the sale condition, absolutely.
For how long?
So I'm not going to discuss, because a sale process which is being designed now, I'm not going to discuss what the details of the sale will be.
Right, so you're not guaranteeing it will be long-term as a non-subscription model. Will it be sold to a UK investor, or will foreign companies be allowed to buy it?
The market will be open, and those organisations which want to bid for Channel 4 will be able to do so, but we will be examining any bid very carefully. And as you will have seen the broadcasting white paper, part of our requirement will be that Channel 4 continues to make distinctive British content. After all, it's Channel 4 that brought us the Derry Girls and Gogglebox and other programmes which are distinctly and uniquely
I agree,
British.
It's a triumphant success as it is. Now, you conducted a privatisation...
I didn't actually say that.
No, but I'm saying that. You conducted a privatisation consultation. It generated a very impressive 56,293 responses, according to the white paper. What percentage of those supported privatisation?
Sorry, the 96% of?
There were 56,293 responses when you asked people about privatisation. What percentage of those 56,000 supported privatisation?
I think the figure was about 96%, but also... I'd like to finish answering the question, if that's possible, Chair.
Yeah.
46,000 of those respondents were from a politically motivated organisation called 38 Degrees, who actually rewrote the consultation question in a far more leading way than was in the consultation. Also,
she says this a lot. Now, I don't know anything about that, and I'm not going to have an opinion on it, but to me that doesn't sound right. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to do that, but I'm sure there'll be far more intelligent people who follow this channel will know and probably explain it to me better. So, I have no idea, but it doesn't sound right to me. Man, she shouldn't say a lot of stuff that sounds right anyway.
I think also a similar amount of 96% also stated that there were no issues, no challenges facing Channel 4. I think they were the words, no challenges facing Channel 4 at the present moment, which is completely untrue. But I think what is a more important figure, actually, is that in public polling, 53% of the public were not aware that Channel 4 was state-owned, and they thought it was already owned by a private company.
Yes, that's quite a vulnerable issue, I think, for you, since my colleague here had to explain that to you at the last session. The answer to the question, of course, is that 96% opposed privatisation. Now, Channel 4 has been a huge success. The public don't support it. Channel 4 doesn't support it. PACT, the trade body for the independent sector, predicts a $4 billion loss for the sector if Channel 4 is privatised over 10 years. How come they're all wrong and you're right?
So as the government, we have to take a long-term view. And, sorry, I just wanted to answer an earlier question. We are putting a time frame in for ownership as a public service broadcaster. I just wanted to confirm the number of years. It's 10
Thank
years.
you, Ms Healy, for that.
Well, that's why Miss Healy is here. And so your question, could you repeat the question?
Yes, I gave a list of all the people who oppose privatisation, experts, and I asked, how come you think that they're all wrong and you're right?
So as a government, it's our responsibility to take a long-term view. After all, we own Channel 4, those organisations don't. And we have to take a long-term view regarding the future of Channel 4. And of course, there are a number of factors which have come into play in our decision. I've already highlighted the decreasing spend on advertising revenue, the fact that Netflix and other online streamers are now considering and very likely to take on board advertisers, therefore decreasing their budgets. It is very bad practice, I would say, for any CEO of any organisation to be totally dependent upon one revenue stream in a decreasing market. But there are many other considerations also which have come into play in the decision. And one of the most important, and I think it is the most relevant where we are today, is that any issue with Channel 4 moving forward, should Channel 4 move into difficulty, it is of course state-owned and offset against the public debt. It is offset against the government's balance sheet. If Channel 4 does get into difficulties, the government doesn't have money, the Treasury doesn't have money, it's taxpayers' money. And it was the taxpayer who will be liable for any problems Channel 4 may encounter. Also, Channel 4 itself has said that it requires investment. It wants to raise funding. It's produced a document called, I think, The Next Episode, in which they talk about wanting to raise investment, wanting to raise borrowing, because there are many things that Channel 4 wants to do.
Yeah,
we want Channel 4 to do.
One thing they don't want to do is to
Again, Chair, if I could just finish
private.
answering the
Well,
question.
that was quite a long answer, Secretary of State. The one thing Channel 4 doesn't want is to be privatised. Now, you say it's state-owned. Of course, it's a public service broadcaster, but it is funded, as Mr Green explained to you last time, by advertising. A lot of your colleagues think this is about revenge, because you think Channel 4 isn't sympathetic to the government project, and you're particularly hostile to Channel 4 news. And that's a view not just of opposition politicians, but many of your colleagues, one of whom called this payback time.
I'm not responsible.
I don't know what it is, but something stirring within me is telling me that these two don't like each other. I don't know what's giving me that.
Responsible for comments made by my colleagues.
You don't seem to take responsibility for your own comments either.
But what I can say is that Channel 4 has a desire it can't make and sell its own content under its licence. It recognises itself that it's totally dependent on a decreasing advertising budget. Channel 4 itself wants to raise investment. We can't allow, as the organisation, the government owns Channel 4, we can't allow Channel 4 to raise investment because the taxpayer will be liable for the debt of that investment.
It's making record profits, of course.
Well, that's a great time to sell, and that's.
I don't know about you. I've never had a head for business. All that stuff confused me, but that doesn't sound right to me. When your company's making profits, is that the right time to sell? Doesn't sound right to me, but you guys in my comment section are far more brighter than me and that sort of stuff, so if I'm wrong, I'm quite able to say, yeah, fair enough. But don't sound right to me.
Why we're selling now at a time. I don't say great profits. There are. Well, I won't have time to go into. I won't have time to go into the details of it. But while it's in the position it is now, that is a good time for Channel 4 to go to the market. It's a good time for Channel 4 to raise investment. It's a good time for us when you balance Channel 4 and the value of Channel 4 today against what's happening with the independent production sector, the booming independent production sector. And let's not forget, that independent production centre only earns 7% of its revenue from Channel 4. It's the right time to sell Channel 4 and for the government to receive a creative dividend from that sale, which we can invest back into the independent production sector. Margaret Thatcher set up Channel 4 40 years ago to stimulate, to help grow, right down to grassroots funding of independent production in the UK. That job's been done. It's now time for us to have that reinvestment in the skills and the expertise that we need.
Yes.
For people
Harold
working.
Macmillan said, don't sell off the family silver. Back to you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, when I was watching this a few times after I'd recorded it, I was just trying to understand what the hell's going on between these two, because our Mad Nad didn't act like this with anybody else on the panel. But at first I just thought that maybe our Mad Nad just cannot stand the sight of him. But then my schoolboy humour comes out and I thought to myself, does she have a thing for him? You know, when we're at school, you know, our emotions, we can't seem to control them or understand them, and sometimes the people who we do fancy, we start bickering and putting down because we can't understand why we think that way. You know me, I put my schoolboy back in its box, sort of like, and I, after watching it and thinking out loud, I thought to myself, I wonder if she's intimidated by him, because I get the feeling that he can see right through her and realises she is not the right person for this job, and he knows it, and I get the feeling that she does as well. What do you think? Am I wrong? I don't know, but leave your views in the comments below, and until the next time, I shall bid you farewell and take care.